All right, in chapter 4, we're going to be looking at part settings. Again, over in our left nav, we can see part settings is under F&I products above manufacturer vendors. Again, like in chapter 1 or 2, we've had some things that are most likely configured already for your dealership. So we'll just kind of review how to update them or make changes if you need and review some of the other settings that add over here. So at the top, we have some stuff related to some invoicing. So do we have a minimum price that we want to have on parts when they're added in inventory? This is a place where you can make sure that that setting exists. You can also have a minimum deposit percentage. So this is how much a minimum deposit is required when somebody's layawaying or special order a part. In this case, in this dealership, I have 100%, which means you need to pay me for everything I'm special ordering. Maybe you only want to charge your customers half down and half when they pick it up. You could come here and set it to 50%. Same thing goes for the minimum layaway percentage we just talked about. Again, this is most likely already set up, which is your part invoice number sequence. I would probably not mess with that. Restocking fee, if you're one of those stores that if a part is returned and there's nothing wrong with it, it's just somebody bought something. In particular, special order parts tend to have the restocking fees over stock parts. Either way, if you decide to add a restocking fee as a default when parts are returned, you can set it here. Maybe it's 15%, 10%, something along those lines. Put that here, and then when parts are returned, it'll automatically calculate into the invoice. Some really important stuff to understand coming up next are three toggles. The first one is whether you use price book costs for cost plus discounting. So again, maybe you have a customer that you have a wholesaler with a cost plus 20% if they buy their parts from you. This will decide whether you're using the cost that came with the price file or it uses a cost type that you've set up in the dealership, which is done under accounting, which could be something like cost average or AVCO for that matter. So just understand that's what that toggle controls there. This toggle over here, you can toggle on or off. I think you should have it on. When adding a special order part to a parts invoice, you'll see an icon after the description that you can click that may show if that part exists in another dealer within the DX1 dealership network. How far away, a little bit of their information on how to contact them. We do not show quantity available or on hand in any aspect of that process, and the dealers cannot see your actual inventory quantities. And then we have show bin locations on a final parts invoice. Bin locations are great for locating stuff internally, but maybe that's not something you want to display on your invoice. And this is where you could come and control that by default. We also have our parts invoice message. Again, just like a major unit invoice, towards the bottom of the invoice, you can add a message. Thank you very much for my business. You may want to put your return policy in here, things like that, where you just make sure that your policies are clear about what you have in your parts department. Receipt tape invoice message. You can put something here. Hey, thanks for coming. Your store's slogan, something that you just want to customize the message on the bottom of each time. And then we come into a whole bunch of settings here, and these are really important to remember in the dealership. Many of these first four here are related to whether you're going to require a PIN to do certain things. So, do you want to make somebody come ask you for a PIN to create a new invoice? Do you want to make a PIN required for voiding or unvoiding invoices? For overriding the special order deposit, as I mentioned before, maybe you set it up as a default for 20%, but somebody wants to override that because it's a good customer or something and not make them do the deposit. They would be required to come get a PIN or have a PIN to override it. And then a PIN required to do force sales in an invoice. This is selling parts that you don't have in inventory. And then also we have required customers on a part invoice. Again, as time moves on, it's probably best practice to get as much information as you can about your customers. But we also understand concerns about privacy and leave that up to you to decide. So if you want to make sure that every item that leaves your dealership has a customer on a part invoice, you can do that here. Otherwise, don't click it, and invoices that are not added will come across as cash customers. This does make returns a bit difficult if the customer doesn't come back with a receipt. So do keep that in mind. Part inventory, so a PIN required for changing the inventory or the cost on a part. Again, this would be related to controlling management type stuff about who can do and not do what. These can be also controlled at a user level. Um, Many people use QuickBooks Online with us, and you want to have this box checked. That'll create the payables and receiving parts to flow over accounting. Some of you may not use QuickBooks Online, so information doesn't need to flow from DX1 to your accounting process in an automatic way. So you could check or uncheck this box to say whether you want to create the payable entries. If I'm not using QuickBooks Online, I would probably uncheck it. Um, Print notes on a parts invoice. This is something I would be very, very careful about as users come and go. Sometimes they don't understand the ramifications for invoices and what a certain note may or may not mean. So make sure that you do be careful with that one. Set shipping to non-taxable. So this is just, whether you're going to charge that taxable item on shipping when it goes to when it comes in regards to the invoice. And then also, again, a lot of people are trying to be more paper conscious over time. So if you don't print out purchase orders or the receiving session summaries or vendor return paperwork because it's part of the normal process, you can check these boxes so those pop-ups don't show. Again, if you're not printing that paperwork over, days, weeks, months, years, this can really save a lot of time to get more stuff done. So just kind of don't overlook those. DX1 also has the ability for you to create a pricing rule, meaning maybe you have parts that come in from a vendor and you want to automatically increase the MSRP by 10%. That would be an example of an escalator. You can create those escalators and rounders in the system, and then you can apply them to certain catalogs. In this case, if you set a particular rule, maybe everything that comes into your dealership gets a 10% surcharge right off the top, or 10% bump on price, whatever you want to say. This is where you could come build that, select it from a list, and you can set it, and everything that comes in now will get a 10% bump on the MSRP. And you can do the same thing with rounders. Maybe you don't want anything to be 74 cents. You can set it to give it a range to apply a rounder like 99 cents or flat figures like $0, things like that. Also, dealers, if you're into tracking lost sales, this is functionality that's available in an invoice. This is where you can come to manage the reasons. Just like F&I products, you can add a lost sale right through the middle of a parts invoice, but to come over and actually manage them, remove them, or if you just simply want to add more outside of the parts invoice, this is where you can come, click the plus idea, give it a reason, and click save, and you'll find it in your list here. Parts fees, this is probably one of the bigger tools to make sure that you're using within your dealership. In many cases, many of you are doing certain types of services that aren't necessarily considered service. You may want to charge an assembly fee for selling something like a chainsaw or a lawnmower. Most of our dealers, in one way, shape, or form, sell some type of battery. So maybe you have certain types of core charges, tire fees, environmental fees, etc. Make sure that you're knowing this is where you again manage those as well. You can click to add a fee, give it a name, a description, amount, taxable. Again, you can link it to an income account so that way you can track this type of stuff from the accounting side. Pretty easy to do. And in a further chapter, we'll explain how to add parts fees to an invoice. So that's part settings in DX1, and that will cover chapter 4.